you saw Microsoft spent $70 billion.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town Council to order. If you would please stand for the invitation and the pledge. The pledge tonight will be led by Mr. Hart. Reverend P.J. Petty-Jones was supposed to bring, if you're looking at your agenda, our invocation, but his wife about 3 o'clock this afternoon was involved in a automobile accident in May County, and he's on his way to the hospital. So we'll lead the invocation, and Mr. Park will lead the pledge. Our God, we thank you for this day, the blessings of life, the glory of your handiwork that we've been a part of, that you've chosen to water the earth again and to refresh it. We thank you for that. We thank you that we live in a land like America. We thank you for the opportunity to serve. We ask tonight that we'll take every deliberation under consideration for the best interests of our community. We ask that we'll be kindly affectionate one to another, show the proper respect one to another. And we ask that at the end of this meeting that all things that are said and done would be that displeasing to you in our lives. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the one on the right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Park. Yes. Okay, if everyone has their microphone on, please. We do still have those that are not able to hear us. And we've tried at least 2 sets of microphones, and I don't know. 3 sets. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know how. Is this building insulated overhead?
Not much. Our acoustics is bad.
The acoustics are very bad, but we need to do all that we can so that the what public we do have is able to hear us. And Diane sitting way over in the back will quote us correctly if she can hear us correctly.
I can hear you.
All right. You've had a chance to look at the consent agenda. Is there any additions or deletions or corrections that need to be made for the consent agenda? Anything to be added, taken away from, or? Okay, that includes I don't mention this every time, but that does include the approval of the minutes. That's when I say corrections or additions, I'm in particular talking about the minutes, if you've had a chance to read them. Hearing none, the chair would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. How you vote, Mr. Walsham?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Mr. Harder?
Yes.
Mr. Harder?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Okay. The Brother Reverend Petty John called at 3 o'clock. Kevin Parker texted 2 minutes ago. He isn't going to be here, so our agenda is going to be moving just a little faster than that. He's probably chosen the greater of things. His granddaughter's in a play at school, and he told me he'd let me know the first of the week, and he just texted an apology that he had not gotten back to me, but he felt like he needed to be there, and that's probably where he needs to be. I will talk to you a little bit about what he and I discussed as it relates to our last meeting, but he will reschedule and will be with us. Okay, Randall Warner from Tech Eagles Cybersecurity.
All right. Thanks everybody for having me up tonight. So if for those of you I got to meet kind of as we walked in the door, again, I'm Randall Garner, the general manager of Tech Eagles, which we're a local IT and cybersecurity firm, and we've had the opportunity to work with you guys here at the town of Wausau for I guess about a year, maybe a little less. And first of all, I just wanted to say I actually get an opportunity to work with a handful of municipalities, and I'm tickled that I get to work with Miss Margaret. She's a real gem, and I'm sure y'all all know that, but just to compare against some of the other folks that I get to work with, none of there's anything wrong with those guys, but I've always enjoyed getting to talk to her. She knows what she's doing. So the reason why I'm here tonight is that cybersecurity is there's a crisis. It's at an all-time high. I'm sure you guys have seen things on the news over the last couple years. Bigger businesses, bigger towns, bigger cities, kind of seems kind of far off, probably won't ever really affect us. But you've probably seen some other things in the last year, like municipalities getting attacked. Utilities like city water got hacked earlier last year. And if it wasn't by the sheer, grace of God, that an employee actually saw the attacker in their computer, which controlled the chemicals in the water, would probably make a lot of people sick in, what was that, just north of Tampa, Oldsmar, Florida, I believe is where that was. And so me being in the industry, I keep up with these types of things, and I also know that we're all basically connected to the same internet. So whether it's a big city or whether it's a small city, it's all the same internet, which is how hackers trick us and take advantage of us. But to be honest, up until this last year, I might have had the opportunity to work in 1 or 2 cyber breaches a year for different businesses in this area. Last year, we ended up averaging about 1 a month. So not just from a national newsworthy standpoint, but even in my little part of the world, and I'm not a big company by any stretch, when I see that level of an increase over a year period, it's time to really start sounding the alarm. So last spring, we wrote the report, had several copies to give out in case you wanted to read through that, trying to describe this crisis. But again, as the year went on last year, we were seeing more and more that were actually right here in our backyard. So as your IT and cybersecurity expert, it's my job, and I think you would want me to bring to you anything that I thought was relevant to make you aware. I'm just a cog in your wheel with all the other plates that you got spinning, so I'm not any more important than anybody else. But you guys do a lot of hard work to prioritize the biggest risk with the biggest impact and try to solve those problems. I'm just here to make sure that we're all aware that there are these problems going on so that y'all can factor that into your decision-making process. But I'm not here to just scare you, fear, doubt, uncertainty, and then leave you with that. I mean, we do have things that we can do to help all of our customers and clients with these issues. In that report, page 8 has a list of everything that we can do. And I stand behind them to help develop a lot of those solutions. I think they're needed by most everybody, but I'm also a business owner and manager, and I'm realistic enough to know that one size generally doesn't fit all. And we have to take it on a case-by-case basis to fit the unique risks and impacts of each organization that I work with. So at a high level, how can I help if this is a concern or if this is something that you're interested in? One option is an assessment of the organization, top to bottom. Basically, we're looking for working with you guys, collaborating to look for the things that we're not aware that we're exposed to. We don't know what we don't know, but those are gaps that potentially a cyber attacker could jump right in and take advantage of us and hurt us at some level. And then the outset of that is to identify all of those risks, talk about and understand the unique impacts to the town of Wausau, and then when we start talking about solutions, we know what we're up against, and we know whatever the spend is or the timeline is or the resources that we need to commit to solving that problem is. We got a better understanding of what that's going to do to actually fit our unique needs and impacts for the town of Wausau. Or, you know what, yeah, that sounds great, but we're still concerned, we want to address it, but we're not sure we want to do this whole assessment. I can give you a second option, and I gave that to Margaret when we met at the beginning of November, based on just what I know. So basically, I took what services that we already provide for the town of Wausau and gave her a proposal to get in the ballpark what that looked like if we just upgraded everything to the latest cybersecurity offerings to protect computers, to protect email, to help with policies and procedures, documentation that the city would need so that it could show that, hey, this is how we intend to play the game, so to speak, of how we protect data and use data at the town of Wausau, and then help generate the reports that shows that we're actually playing the game. And those two sets of data together, if you were ever asked by an auditor, cyber insurance, filing for any kind of state and federal grants, these type of questions and requirements we're seeing it required at a very rapid pace in all these business contracts type of issues or type of situations on a really rapid pace. So I just wanted to come and, make sure that you're aware, here to answer any questions. I'm here as a resource. We're here to help any way we can. And just open up for any questions, I guess. Here's my intro.
Okay, any questions from the council?
No, actually.
And what Randall proposed, you know, and Randall had talked with me about, you know, they're already aware of all of our situations. We get a monthly report anyway of anything that they think might have went on, you know. And to provide this extra protection, it was less than $100 a month more than what we're paying now, wasn't it?
I think it was around $100.
Yeah, around $100 more than what we're paying now.
And refresh me, how long has Tech Eagles been working for?
Since, it's been almost a year now.
I was thinking it was about a year.
Yeah, right at a year now.
And what do they do for us?
They come in and they do all of our IT work, setting up our computers, everything. And then they monitor, all of anything that goes on, like anything on the dark web or anything like that. And we get a report on that, if any breaches in that in the month, you know, each month we get a report on that.
Okay, is that just our office computers?
Our office computers, yes.
And if we add computers at the fire department or anything like that,
It'll be just a small fee for an extra computer. Right now, we're doing 2 computers, and, you know, we just add an extra fee. And they're already gonna put the Wi-Fi,
We're working on a plan to tie in the
tie
fire
in the
department
fiber,
building.
it's over here to over there, you know. And
So
then-
you wouldn't have to incur a whole nother monthly payment from an internet provider. We're gonna put a plan in to piggyback off of what you have here.
yeah, we get some in proposals and some many people, sometimes I'm confused on who's doing what for
I
us.
understand. Yes, sir.
They do all of our computers. Travis still does our security. All,
That's our cameras,
yes, our cameras and all.
okay? And Paul, how does this tie with what you do for us? You just populate our page, or does this impact you anyway?
Not at all. We're not tied into your system at all. We simply maintain your website and then all the public relations stuff that we do, but we're not tied into your network at all.
And you would be monitoring anything to come on the web page, would you not, on the web?
That would be Paul's preview. I've known Paul for 20 plus years, so I'd be happy to help and work with him any way possible, but that's Paul's.
Yeah, you don't,
But your monitoring and his maintenance of our web page are kind of separated.
They're separated, yes, sir.
well, you don't do any business on the website that we maintain for you. So in other words, there's no classified information, there's no sensitive information. That's totally information that we generate, such as video clips of your meetings and that sort of thing.
Right.
Announcements, the things that by law you must post.
Yeah.
What Martin, do you feel like the town needs that from your viewpoint?
I feel like in the near future, we're gonna have to do something. We're already getting emails from the league and from all, you know, about the cyber. It's getting to be a really big deal that we're gonna have to have something in place to ensure, you know, the
Yeah.
security of our, you know, we get all of our state funds and all come electronically, all of our grants and all there. We transmit a lot of confidential information to and from the state of Florida, you know.
You know, it's better to be safe than sorry, so it's fine with me. I mean, I'm for it, okay? I'm just
If
keeping
I-
my
The world
viewpoint.
is so dependent
Yeah, I'm
on
not, yeah, it
and
is.
things like that, that probably right behind COVID, a cyber attack
Yeah.
on a national or international scale would be the thing to send us into the ice age or something.
And our wells now are controlled, by computer
Yeah.
through my office here.
Does this include,
He
he
monitors all of our,
does the computers that does that?
yes, he does the computers that does that.
Uh,
And Randall, I have talked, and, you know, he's like, we really don't feel like we need the one-time $2,500 fee, but the monthly, you know, application, you know,
Yeah.
which is just a little more than what we're paying now.
Yeah.
What would, you talked about that you could do,
An assessment.
assessment.
Mhm.
What would that entail on top of, what's the difference in you doing an assessment and telling us what we need and just adding something to what we're doing?
So, upgrading what we're currently doing is addressing the only components about the town that I'm aware of, and that's the office systems. The assessment would take a much more holistic look at the operations of the town, policies, procedures. Making sure that things that the federal, state, government, bigger companies are starting to require such documentation in their contracts or through grants, through doing business with one another. Things that I'm not privy to, things that, and oftentimes I've done several of these in the last couple quarters, things that even me or the business owner, if we just sat down and just tried to brainstorm really quickly, didn't really think about. So the assessment's really trying to find out what we don't know that might be kind of hiding somewhere that we just don't realize. But then the monthly upgrades like Margaret's talking about, it's like, well, hey, this is what I already know about the town of Wausau, so this needs attention, so let's go ahead and we can take that step and get going as well. So it's really, they're both good direction. There's a good chance if you did the assessment, we're gonna have findings that's gonna say you probably need to do these monthly anyway. So the monthly are good, but there might be something out there that we're just not thinking about as an organization. I'm your IT guy. I know I'm outsourced and I got a different logo on my shirt than the town of Wausau, but my whole goal is to act like I'm your IT guy on staff. And so if I was in that role, you would want to have meetings with me and, pick my brain about what's going on and have me bring things that I'm aware of to you. So that assessment would help us look at that a little bit more holistically.
The reason I asked the question, so the council will understand, he's been with us a year, he should know our system fairly well, probably in depth. But if we're going to do anything, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a good time to have a complete assessment again. It's like if I'm doing something, or if I'm gonna take the skirting off of my house, crawl up under it, and fix a hole in my plumbing, I might want to check in joints on either side of it and see if they don't need fixing too, and do it all while under the house at one time. And I'm wondering if we may need to, he can assess what he's done for the last year, and anything that we might not have, and then fix it all at one time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Is that?
Pretty much.
If we got the time, we know what if he just goes in there and changes the light bulb, it's gonna cost us if he adds another socket, what, we got the money to pay for
Yes,
that?
sir, we do, yes, sir.
The assessment.
And that way y'all and I will be more aware of what we need, sometimes I'm not, I don't know everything that we need for this, I'm not, that's above my pay scale.
When I take my mower in, I don't just get a blade, I get a belt, a pulley, a filter, and get it all checked at one time, so I start out as fresh as I can.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office email was just hacked recently. Fortunately, it was their older email system that they no longer use, but it can happen.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Jackson County
Hospital
Hospital
was back last week.
Yeah, I had a little issue with that news report. They got to pat themselves on the back quite a bit. I'm sure they wrote their own press release there. Oh, Paul, you didn't write that, did you?
No.
Okay. Then yeah, I got a little issue with that, but yeah. So it's right up the road, right? It's we're not, like I said, we're all really connected by the same internet. At the end of the day, that's how hackers get us nowadays. They don't knock on doors and try to con us like they used to.
For the sake of time, the discussion now, I think we're thinking about if we do anything now, we're gonna do the assessment. So talk to me about the assessment.
Okay.
Briefly, how wider is the scope? How much bigger is the scope? And how long would we be talking about?
Generally, it takes us about a month to complete from end to end. One of the first steps that I'll do is I'll sit down probably with Margaret and go through the typical questions that we would ask that pertain to the operations of the town, type HR things, financial questions and things like that. Because again, it's not just cybersecurity in the sense of your computer systems, it's an organizational problem, right? A lot of the questions you're going to start to see, do you have a policy about a breach response, like the hospital? their press release is we were just smart and we just reacted fast. Well, that's kind of good, but underneath HIPAA, which all medical offices should fall under, which is a federal regulation, they are required to have a document that says when we have a breach or we suspect a breach, here's exactly what we're going to do. So they got total on themselves in the press release, even though they're busy doing this. So that's really not anything to do with your computers per se, but that's a rule or a document at the highest level of organization about how we intend to react if this situation happens, right? So that's where we would start, by working with Margaret and asking her some questions and finding those types of things. If we got them, great. If we don't got them, it's an internal assessment. We're all on the same team and we're trying to find potential weaknesses or needs before somebody exploits us on it, right? So we go through that phase. The next phase is we come out and do an on-site physical security walkthrough, looking for good physical security best practices. We do a very in-depth technical assessment of the network and connections and computers. And then basically I sit and spend several hours compiling all that, putting in a summary report, coming back to Margaret and going, hey, based off of what the National Institute of Standards and Technology says are best practices, here's where we got some issues, here's where we got some risks. And I try my best to explain that. Maybe we do this in a meeting with all of us, right? But here's what we found, here's why that's important. Are you concerned? Well, if that risk was to be exploited, what would be the impact to our operations? How would that affect our citizens? How would that, affect us trying to run the town? And then through that collaboration, we come out the outside of that with a list of priorities. Well, here's everything we found that might be a problem, but we all agreed that's a big one that could really hurt us if it happened. So now we kind of start to prioritize things and say, okay, how do we find solutions to solve that problem? And then when we find a cost of that, we compare that back to what we already identified we might lose in that situation. You get to make really, really educated decisions to solve those problems. So that's kind of the...
You said that our computers runs our whales. That means there's something out there. When you say computer, everybody thinks about a laptop or a desktop with a keyboard and a screen. That's what we think about computers. They all kinds of, some of them look like wristwatch. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah. But we got something of these well houses and things like that it talks to, it communicates with. And I think you just said that you're going to do physical security. So you're going to go to our well houses or other places that we have a satellite unit, and you're going to see that it's physically safe and things like that. I like that idea.
Yeah, we check for, again, best practices, say, not just locks on the doors, but security systems are recommended, camera systems nowadays are recommended, and if you don't have it, and I come back and I say, hey, that might be a problem, and everybody here goes, nah, we're good. Well, we understand it, we've identified it, we address it, we move on and try to find something that is a concern.
Anybody else have a question for Mr. Garner? What's the pleasure of the council?
I think it's a good idea.
The big picture of the assessment and the upgrade, would you have to come back to us? Or what? How do we do this to see if we got a motion before, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, now for discussion. I don't know how to ask it. If we vote yes on this in just a moment, if we vote yes on this, then how's the mechanics of it work? You're going to come back and you're going to start doing all these things you just talked about a minute ago. Will he have to come back here, or is your motion is that when he does this and we have the money, we don't know what the money is? That's what frightens me.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
assessment's $2,500.